The ditch where the king's highway narrows into a thought is the first place you feel them. Not their knives. Those stories are cheap, but they're arithmetic. A hedge here has been trained into a gate without hinges. A fallen oak there has learned to nap across a cart's width at ankle height. A bramble-wound boulder sits like a keeper of fees whose sash is thorns. Where a stream should scuttle under the road, it pauses into a pool fit for rinsing buckets and stripping wheels. Behind the firs, a lark sings too loudly for a lane that pretends to be empty. You set the horn lamp on the milestone until a warm coin of light lands where hands keep forgetting to be careful. You lay your palm on the beam of the wayside cross as if oak could borrow your pulse, and you hang counsel at mouth height where laziness must bruise itself to leave. Cart chained, axles tarred, guards posted, loads tallied, tolls posted, witness names chalked, no stops where hedges think. Rules this short are an apology to every merchant who learned songs the hard way. Subscribe and tap our bell, the one that brings drills to your wrists, not rumors to your purse. And in the comments, write the 7 words you would nail to a milepost tomorrow. Tolls posted, guards posted, loads tallied, no stops. I'll pin the ones that travel and carry them to part 2 when we cut a tollkeeper's drawer into a rate board. A clothman from 2 towns north limps up with a broken rim and a face that has learned to be embarrassed by weather. "We thought to rest," he says, and glances at the pool that hired his axle. You lift the chain from his cart and snap it across the felloe. You hammer a peg into the ditch clay so the wheel cannot leap toward its own reflection again. He watches the chain's language, stay, and nods as if grammar could bruise. The boy from the rope bench, following like a ferret with sleeves, runs his hand along the hedge and finds the loop where bandits tied their oak at dawn to turn it into economics. You wedge the oak upright with a pry pole and post a slip at ankle height so boots learn no stops where hedges think. The lark moves. It was not a bird. Tolls and bandits share a mother. Surprise. You walk the road to the nearest gate and find a drawer with 3 names and 5 prices. "For king," the keeper says, and pockets the rest by accident. You set horn on the shelf until light coins his fingernails. You hammer a rate board to the post where mouths must bruise it. Tolls posted. 1 penny for pack, 2 for cart, none for empty wheels, half at harvest, none twice. You hang a second slip where wrists will not forget. Witness names chalked. A drover writes his own, then his mate's, then a boy's who could not reach. The toll-keeper scowls and learns to like Witness, because Witness defends him from the bandit's cousin who claims double tomorrow. He does not thank you. He beats you to the next post with his own hammer. Bandits are craftsmen of the pause. They wait for a load to sigh beneath a hill, or gossip with a puddle, or admire its own reflection in a cross's shadow. They walk with civility when you see them in town, and pride themselves on recognizing a tired wheel, like a doctor recognizes a failing pulse. They love secrecy more than knives. You hire ruin to distrust them. Guards posted hangs on the cart tail, where 2 lads with staves will bruise their wrists instead of your purse. They learn to read hedges like larks do. They learn to slap a sleeve over a staff head and cap a lamp before panic asks them to shine in the wrong direction. When the bramble keeper steps from the firs with a smile that expects agony for rent, the cart does not rest. The boys hum the short line that saved them last winter, bored between hands, and turn their ladder sideways into a bridge across the soft ditch the bandit called kindness. Tar and tallies are more persuasive than oaths. At the wheelwright's yard, you tack a card where wrists must lie to forget. Axles tarred, pins pegged, chains ready. A merchant who liked bravery more than grease follows your finger as you teach him to respect dullness. He looks at your card as if it were a beam in a market where his daughter will marry in 2 winters. He pays the wheelwright by schedule, not by story. He spits in the ditch like a man who intends to live through his own threshold. At the village alehouse, 2 men praise a hedge's courtesy and call it guide. "A hand it was," the first says, "telling you to rest." You set the horn coin on the slab and point to the slip you brought for the bench. No stops where hedges think. The beetle's daughter, who has the habit of being everywhere rules need to be in time, taps the tabletop with the beetle and hums the round. The men blush in the shape of men who would like to be good brothers to their own wrists. Later, in the lane, they test the hedge with a stave, soft rope, persuaded bramble, staged shade, and walk on, humming. A parish that wants to survive hires daylight. You map the bad mile with chalk and ribbon. Pool, hedge gate, ditch convenient for oak, bank dug too steep, tree that kisses cart bows. At each you post a slip at the height that offends, not at the height that impresses, guard posted, wheel chalked, ladder sideways, chains ready. The road scouts, two drovers who prefer benches to stories, keep a tally on a board they thump with their fists when a cart pauses wrong. They do not want to fight, they want a schedule. Bandits hate a schedule. Merchants are villages on legs. You teach them to travel as if winter designed their cart. Pegboard for cups with names chalked, sleeve for the lamp that will not perform for puddles, pry pole slung like an oar across the lad's shoulders, chains coiled in the tool chest like quiet snakes that answer verbs, rate board template under the seat because another parish's drawer will try to worship secrecy again, 2 spare cards drilled for tax, tolls posted, witness names chalked, and a hammer. It is a dull kit. Dull kits are the ones that outlive drums. Subscribe and tap our bell if you want more of this choreography rather than more of those cheap songs. And below, add 7 words you'd nail to a toll post in your region so primers can't invent their own price. Tolls posted, witness names chalked, no charges twice. I'll pin the ones with wrists in them and carry them into the Reeves Hall. Parson and Reeve are the 2 men bandits love to quote. Custom, they say. Danger of the way, assurance for God, order for shire. You take Horn to the Reeves bench, set it on his drawer until the coin of light unnerves greed, and tack the same slip you hammered at the toll gate. Tolls posted. He protests that his is a parish fee, not a royal theft. You open your other pocket and pull a card the color of vinegar. No stops where hedges think. He swears he knew it. His clerk writes it. His alehouse learns to mention it. His hedge finds itself nibbled by hands that learn to slap sleeves over staff heads. Road shrines are accomplices by accident. The 4th mile the cross stands, and you wander up with your horn lamp and a small ledge to leave candles. Bandits liked prayers because prayers made ankles soft. You cap the lamp with tin, leave the candle pegboard a cart length before the cross, and hang a card on the arm at mouth height. Ring once, not thrice. Carts do not rest. You teach people to respect the saint by stopping where hands can see hedges. The saint, bored of being a landlord, looks relieved. A bad market is a loud ditch. At the Crossroads Fair, you find a stall selling safe conduct letters, written with a confidence that smells like cloves. You slide vinegar under the nib until scent interrupts charm, and tack a card to the stall's plank. Reasons recorded, copies given, witnesses present. The seller becomes a clerk without murdering his wardrobe. The buyers become merchants of daylight. The ditch gets one less poem. Bandits prefer shade and gratitude. You hire the opposite. Half a mile short of the oak gate, you tack witness names chalked to a post and ask drovers to write 3. Then move the post to the hedge line where ambush likes to breathe. Chalk makes an offense. Names make a story. Stories make prosecutors braver. In winter, you learn to love benches. On the road, you teach trees to become benches. The forger with the honest smile tries to sell a pilgrim a medal that will change eyes, make bandits see a friar instead of a purse. You pin your card to his sleeve, guards posted. He laughs, pockets his lucky saint, and hires a plowboy with a sleeve who can cap a lamp and swear properly. The saint forgives everyone. A woman who owns 3 pack horses and more sense than the Reeves bench comes to your milepost with a suggestion she calls revenge and you call hygiene. Loads tallied in chalk before carts pass into the dip. She thumps the tally with the beetle. She makes 3 boys chant the list. She throws a stick into the ditch and lets them pry it out. She laughs, then teaches them to like dullness. You love her. At dusk, you walk the mile that used to be a song about knives and now looks like a workshop. The hedge sits up like a sheep that forgot how to pretend. The oak's loop neck is found. The pool resembles a trough because it has boards across it. The toll drawer has a bruised finger because the keeper liked posting too much and smashed himself. The shrine has tin on its lamp and candles moved back where carts can see hedges. The campfire in the copse failed to recruit a cart because no stops has moved from paper into ankles. You thump the beam of the wayside cross once with the beetle. Wood answers, short and content. Behind the firs, a bandit with a literate face watches you walk the mile again and snaps his loop's knot with a vice that smells like resignation. He will eat, but he will travel to eat. That is all you wanted. If you want this kit carried into the toll house proper, the Reeves Hall where drawer becomes rate board, and the sheriff's bench where assurance turns into receipts, subscribe and tap the bell so part 2 lands while your wrists remember the meter. In the comments, give me your 7-word milepost law you'd trust with your cart tomorrow. Then say continue if you want to see how roadside arithmetic starved blades of surprise and how merchants bled less when benches, boards, pegs, sleeves, and horn learned to travel. I'll bring horn, chalk, ribbon, tin, vinegar, beetle, cards, and the habit that keeps winning. Public sentences at mouth height where tired hands will touch them before drums remember the old lines. The toll house squats like a purse with windows, so you set the horn lamp on the sill until a warm coin of light lands where drawers used to replace law. A keeper with ringed fingers rehearses the shrug every traveler already knows. His clerk stands ready with a tally chalk that prefers pockets. You hang counsel at mouth height where wrists must bruise themselves into memory. Tolls posted, witness names chalked, seals opened under horn, 2 receipts, no favors after dark. No charges twice, no blows. The beetle's daughter, who keeps turning up wherever paper pretends to be weather, taps the beam with the beetle. Wood hums, the drawer flinches, and the keeper discovers how much easier it is to point to a rate board than argue with strangers, 1 purse at a time. Subscribe and tap our bell, the one that delivers drills to your wrists, not rumors to your purse. And in the comments, write the 7 words you would nail inside any toll house. Tolls posted, witness names chalked, 2 receipts, no favors. I'll pin the rules you'd trust at dusk and carry them to the sheriff's bench when assurance tries to rename extortion. You pull the drawer, turn it out on the table, and let horn coin everything metal until discretion admits arithmetic. The keeper clears his throat to explain custom. You hand him a nail. He reads the rates aloud. Penny for pack, 2 pence for cart, half at harvest, none for empty wheels, none twice, and tacks them under horn where mouths must bump them. Then you drill the drill that turns toll into furniture. Payer states name, clerk chalks it, second witness chalks his own, keeper says the number, clerk sings it back, 2 receipts written, 1 for cart, 1 for haul. A drover at the back grins because he has spent 30 winters wishing for boredom. Bandits love drawers that close fast. You fit a ledger hook to the keeper's table, pinning the rate board open where wind can learn it. You give the clerk a habit he did not know he wanted. Step outside to chalk witness names at the post before he takes coin. Half the game, as any old thief will tell you, is getting the mark to stop. No favors after dark hangs in the doorway to remind both men why candles exist. When a cousin of the hedge tries to offer a night rate, the post whacks his wrist before you have to. From the toll house you carry horn to the Reeves Hall, where roads become budgets and budgets breed excuses. The Reeves bench smells like ink and the inside of pockets. His ditch maps are poems about tomorrow. His road wardens swear on a cudgel because nobody gave them better tools. You hang counsel at mouth height where wrists will brush it before they sign. Bad miles named, hedges cut, ruts filled, bridge kept, tolls posted, no hedge gates, no stops where hedges think. The wardens glance at one another, then at the map. They pencil black spots with little crosses, pool gate, oak loop, bramble keeper, and pledge to walk them in daylight with sleeves and pry poles. The Reeve opens his drawer, and, to his surprise, finds he prefers rate boards to relatives. A wheelwright arrives carrying a tar pot and pride. You tack axles tarred, pins pegged, chains ready to his lintel, and tell him to charge the same fee every time, because surprise breeds bandits faster than ditches do. He nods, dips a brush, and shows 3 merchants how dullness defeats knives. One pays early and looks embarrassed at the relief honesty produces. You write his name on the witness post. He returns at dusk with 2 more chain links to donate. The sheriff's bench is a theater that likes to imagine itself a barn. You set horn on the rail until the coin of light lands where the word assurance tries to rehearse into tribute. You hang counsel at mouth height where wrists must bump it before fines become habits. Convoy charter posted, guard wages posted, hue and cry drill, bonds recorded, no torture, witness names chalked, returns audited. The sheriff, who has seen more poets than thieves and hates both, bangs a staff with tin on its head and admits that distance breeds lies. He posts a muster hour at the city gate, sunrise on market days, and a convoy charter simple enough for oxen. Interval a cart length and a span, ladder sideways for barricade, rope loops ready, watch horn rings once at gate, twice at hedge, thrice only at bridge. He reads wages for hired guards under horn. Men who felt brave yesterday suddenly prefer receipts. Bandits care less about knives than about pauses. The convoy charter crushes pauses into schedule. You drill hand signs for hedges, 2 fingers and a grin for harmless shade, sleeve tap and board down for suspicious. You drill rope for branches, over, not under. You drill the pry pole into grammar, lever the oak upright, chain to peg, cart moves while boys hum the short line that kept winter honest. The drummer in the copse tries a new rhythm. The convoy ignores him, because ladders sideways are louder. At the Reeves Hall, you build an assurance wall from chalk and names. Merchants leaving the gate chalk cart marks under their town and day. Drovers chalk witness. Road wardens add mile kept beside their own. You tack no charges twice above the roster. When a toll house downriver attempts to collect a second time, the convoy points at the wall. The keeper there learns to enjoy being saved from his cousin's business model. Mid-lane, give me your 7-word convoy law, the one you'd trust with 12 pack horses and 3 boys who prefer songs to staves. Guards posted, interval kept, ladder sideways, no stops. Drop it below. I'll pin the rules that outlive knives. A toll keeper's cousin invents a counterfeit gate in a wood turn, complete with a painted board and a drawer that holds both coin and bramble. You carry horn to his plank and post seals opened under horn. 2 receipts, witness names chalked. He smiles a bandit's smile and reaches for your sleeve. You cap the lamp with tin, and the convoy behind you sees the click they learned to love. Men hum the winter round. The boy with the pry pole taps the oak loop. The cousin's drawer turns into a box of apologies. The sheriff's wardens arrive curious and leave relieved. The worst weapon in the bandit's kit is a courtesy. A woman waves a kerchief at the hedge, pointing to a wheel in a puddle and a boy who squeaks exactly too pitifully. She is a cousin of the bramble, good at her job, good at seeming not. You nail no stops where hedges think at ankle height on the nearest post, then walk the puddle with the pry pole. The wheel belongs to yesterday. The boy's squeak turns off when the convoy fails to pause. The woman tries a new profession tomorrow. Inns are where long knives sleep under blankets with nice smells. You hang a card on the beam by the stable door where wrists must bruise themselves before coin pretends to be safety. Yard lit, guards posted, stable close, doors barred, witness names chalked, rate posted, no strangers in hay. The innkeeper swears he'll lose customers. The next fair proves he keeps better ones. Carters pin their convoy charter to the yard post and sleep by interval instead of by fear. You return to the toll house with a plan that looks like furniture and acts like law. Turn the drawer into a rate board in the lane. The keeper stands beside it as if beside a well. Travelers arrive. He points. Penny, 2 pence, none twice, and chalks witness names like a man who is tired of inventing. The clerk hums the convoy drill. The sheriff's wardens begin to look like a choir. Bandits adjust. That is their craft. They stop napping the oak across the lane and start working at wheels, while carts pause of their own whim. You answer with tar and shame. Axles tarred travels village to village like a prayer. Pins pegged becomes the sound that keeps spokes in their weather. Chains ready, means boys practice moving metal with the same joy they used to reserve for noise. The lark sings differently because lanes learned their grammar. One afternoon, the road tests your doctrine with an ambush you would have admired if you weren't so busy enjoying how poorly it worked. The convoy tops the mild rise, where hedges once hired paws, and finds the oak loop cut and the bramble keeper smiling with a staff he pretends was borrowed from a parish. By the time his smile reaches his eyes, the ladder sideways is already a bridge. The pry pole has levered the oak into shame. The chain has kissed the peg. The boys are humming. The lamp is capped. The horn at the gate rings once. The toll house warden reads names into air like bands. The sheriff's wardens stroll up whistling, and the bandit remembers an errand he had in any other county. A notary the convoy hired solely to enjoy this moment writes names under horn. The beadle's daughter taps the beam. Wood hums like laughter. Tools become a story. A pry pole with road mud bruises, a tar pot scarred by usefulness, a sleeve whose tin remembers every lamp you refused to let rehearse horror, a chain that is proud to be dull, a rate board that has never learned to close, a charter pinned to a boy's memory, a basket full of cards. You hand the basket to a merchant who forgot to live last winter and tell him where to nail each sentence at mouth height in the next parish that needs to become boring. He repeats them back, tolls posted, witness names chalked, guards posted, ladder sideways, no stops where hedges think, like a catechism with better wrists. At dusk, the toll house window glows under horn. The rate board looks like a hymn with numbers. The road warden's map smells like ditch, not poetry. The sheriff's bench keeps a roster of bad miles kept that is prettier than any banner. The wayside cross watches candles burn a cart length back where hedges can be watched in turn. The lark sings for the hedges because hedges at last sing back. The men who used to hire pauses try inns that list rates. The drawer spends its retirement as a bench under a beech where travelers rest without being recruited. If you want this kit carried to the sheriff's levy muster, the forest edge where lairs pretend to be monasteries, and the inn-yards where generosity keeps telling lies. Say continue after subscribing and tapping the bell. In the comments, leave your 7-word milepost law another road should steal before market day. I'll bring horn, chalk, ribbon, tin, vinegar, beetle, cards, and the habit that keeps winning. Short, public sentences at mouth height that wrists will obey before knives remember their lines. The sheriff's levy muster is a barn that decided to become a drum, so you set the horn lamp on the gatepost until a warm coin of light lands where mouths want to rehearse bravery and wrists need to memorize work. A line of halberds leans like a choir that forgot its words. A coil of rope thinks it is a story. A chest with pay inside pretends to be patience. You hang counsel at mouth height where forearms must bruise themselves before swagger hires knives. Muster at sunrise. Interval a cart length. Ladder sideways on shout. Rope loops ready. Witness names chalked. Convoy charter posted. No favors after dark. No blows. The sheriff squints, then grins the way an old dog grins when a boy finally throws the stick the right distance. Read it, he orders. The clerk reads. The wardens nod. The road learns a schedule. Subscribe and tap our bell, the one that delivers drills to your wrists, not rumors to your purse. And in the comments, write your 7-word convoy law you'd trust with 12 mules. Muster at sunrise, interval kept, ladder sideways. I'll pin the lines other shires should steal by supper. You start with the interval because pause is the bandit's favorite noun. A cart length between axles, a span between men. Boards lashed on the left side of ladders in daylight. Ladders flipped sideways at the first hedge that thinks. Rope loops tied and worn at the belt where hands can find them in mud instead of poetry. The sheriff walks the line with the beadle's daughter and a beetle. Wood hums, men adjust. The boy from the rope bench fits tin sleeves to staff heads because lamps near hedges prefer not to be news. The clerk chalks witness names on the milepost before coin leaves hand to drawer. The drummer in the copse tries a rattle. The convoy answers with grammar. Forests are monasteries for the wrong vows. You take horn into the green where the king's writ sighs and lairs attempt to be parishes. At the forester's lodge, you post counsel at mouth height, where axes and pardons brush it, lairs torn, brash burned, pits filled, hedge gates cut, names chalked, no sanctuary for bait. The forester, who has been living on the border between duty and cousins, chooses duty because Horn made it cheaper. He names 3 beds of bracken that have been reheating bandits for 2 winters. The road wardens pull them up by the root, while the beadle's daughter hums the winter round, and the sheriff enjoys not being theatrical. An inn-yard is either a harbor or a fence. You hang a card on the beam by the stable door where wrists must bruise their intentions. Yard lit, rate posted, witness names chalked, stable barred, no strangers in hay, pack list sealed under Horn, no credit for rumor. The innkeeper snorts, then counts the number of times credit for rumor cost him pewter and teeth last fair. He posts the rate where mouths will bump it. He chalks witness names under the gate lamp. He nails a pegboard for convoy charters so men can sleep to schedule instead of superstition. He will lose 2 customers and gain a decade. Fences are blacksmiths who forgot where iron belongs. You carry Horn to the forge behind the brook, set it on the anvil so light coins the work, and tack counsel where hammers and purses will bruise it. No rings off wheels, no studs filed, witness names chalked, seals opened under Horn, copies given. The smith tries a smile that expects to be forgiven. The sheriff steps into the circle and tells a story about a wheel that failed beside a hedge that thought too hard. The smith discovers he loves the sound a nail makes when driven straight for witnesses. He hammers his own card to the door. He will be a source instead of a story. The bandit's accountant is the alewife who likes information more than accounts. You put Horn on her counter and tack counsel where credit hands must brush it. No favors after dark. No ale on credit for news. Witness names chalked. Strangers' names written. No knives in benches. She protests that she keeps a good house. You agree, because nothing in your card calls her a liar. It calls her a ledger. She begins to like writing down men's names at the hour when their stories used to tilt toward knives. Mid-yard, give me your 7 words for any inn-yard beam where generosity keeps inventing lies. Yard lit, rate posted, names chalked, no strangers. Put them below. I'll pin the ones that will still be legible after rain. The sheriff's bench rehearses the hue and cry drill until embarrassment learns to be pride. A horn at the gate rings once when the convoy begins, twice when a hedge grows ideas, thrice only at bridge or ford. Men who hear horns repeat rings, not legends. The beadle's daughter walks the line and wraps staff heads with the beadle until sleeves shine like conscience. A band of hedge cousins tries to sell a fast pass at the bend. The convoy does what grammar told them to do. Ignore nouns, obey verbs. Ladder sideways, board between hands, rope looped, wheel kissed to peg, pace resumed. The cousins discuss farming. Toll keepers test their new rate boards the way children test door latches. A keeper downriver tries to invent an emergency surcharge when low sun gilds the hedge. You set Horn on his drawer until the coin of light weighs the lie, and you point at no charges twice on the assurance wall, the reeve nailed in the hall. Witness names chalked at the previous gate hum like a choir behind your elbow. The keeper reads the board aloud. The convoy pays what belongs. The hedge learns to sit up. The forest edge harbors a hermitage with a taste for trade. A holy man sells safe passage prayers and saint-blessed ribbons with knots that look suspiciously like loops for oaks. You put Horn on his table and tack counsel at mouth height where tongues must touch it. No sanctuary for bait. Rope loops for carts only. Reasons recorded. Witness names chalked. He offers a blessing. The convoy asks for receipts. He decides to bless receipts. On the high road, you test a device dull enough to outlast knives, the mile slate. At every mile, a post with 3 chores. Witness names chalked, bad mile named, tolls posted, and a shelf for convoy charters to be pinned while men stretch but do not stop. The post becomes a parish. The parish becomes a schedule. The schedule hires boredom, which ruins most bandits faster than steel. A bright boy with a conscience for sale tries to join the convoy with a rope loop already tied. His smile arrives before his story. The sheriff taps the card and reads the rule that bought him his nap last week. Guards posted, hired by charter, not by rumor. The boy retreats with an offended dignity that finds other hobbies. In inn-yards after harvest, fences get brave. A smith who pledged to stop filing studs just for travel accepts a purse to forget the pledge. You set horn on his anvil and read his own card to him until his wrist, not his pride, remembers the bruise. The sheriff posts a roster of shops that failed us beside the shops that saved us, and discovers trade wants to be good when good gets listed. A convoy finds a cart tilted at a ford with a woman on the box and a babe on her lap. This is a real one, not a cousin. They board between hands, not between stories. They make a bridge of ladders. They lift the wheel with pry and rope instead of gripping the pity that has killed more drovers than any knife. They move. They write names. They leave a peg with a card on her tailboard, witness names chalked, so the next gate can love her without negotiating. A king's pursuivant appears with a proclamation you like accidentally, outlawry by schedule. Names of thieves posted at 3 gates, hue and cry drill read aloud, bonds recorded under horn. Thieves who remain on the bad mile get named to the sheriff. Named thieves who remain get named to the gallows. Named thieves who remain after that are stories told by people who don't travel. You tack the proclamation to the mile slate and add a word in charcoal at the bottom. Witness. Names without witness are songs. Songs are bait. At dusk, you walk the yard behind the toll house and count new nouns that used to be verbs. The drawer turned into a rate board. The cudgel turned into a staff with tin. The ladder turned into a bridge. The rope turned into a loop for oak, not for neck. The hedge turned into a fence with its loop cut. The oak turned into a polite tree. The shrine turned into a door back a cart length. The inn-yard turned into a harbor with a price. The forest turned into a map with X's that mean kept, not feared. You thump the toll house beam once with the beetle. Wood answers. The convoy answers. The mile slate at your shoulder chalks 3 more names. Men who used to admire their own luck and now admire their own schedule. Behind the firs, the lark sings on purpose. That is your wage. If you want this kit carried into the sheriff's levy pay table, the forest warden's routes where lairs reinvent themselves after rain, and the inn-yards where a new fence will test whether your rate board really saves coin, say continue after subscribing and tapping the bell. In the comments, leave your 7-word milepost law another road should steal before market day. I'll bring horn, chalk, ribbon, tin, vinegar, beetle, cards, and the habit that keeps winning. Short, public sentences at mouth height that wrists obey before knives remember their lines. The pay table under the sheriff's awning is where law forgets coins have memories, so you set the horn lamp on the plank until a warm coin of light lands where wages and promises finally shake hands. The treasurer keeps 3 boxes, levy, convoy, road wardens, and 1 habit, sliding silver with a thumb he calls discretion. You hang counsel at mouth height where wrists must bruise themselves before coppers pretend to be courtesy. Rates posted, names called, 2 receipts. Witness names chalked, no favors after dark. Returns audited, no blows. The beetle's daughter taps the beam with the beetle. Wood hums the meter you taught Winter. And the treasurer discovers he prefers pointing to a board over arguing with 12 men who learned schedules. Subscribe and tap our bell, the one that delivers drills to your wrists, not rumors to your purse. And in the comments, write the 7 words you'd nail on any pay table. Rates posted, names called, 2 receipts, no favors. I'll pin the strongest rules and carry them to the warden's routes where lairs reinvent themselves between rain and rumor. You begin by divorcing coin from song. The clerk reads names, the sheriff calls interval, the treasurer lays silver into palms 1 at a time, the witness oaths are chalked on the post before any purse forgets. 2 receipts, 1 for the levy roll, 1 for the convoy charter, slide into a box that now stays open like an honest mouth. A lad from the rope bench, sleeves tin bright, leans the ladder sideways across the queue to remind men how to be patient. The same instrument that foiled hedges tames tempers. Bandits hate ladders that rest. In the forest, the warden's route is a catechism you rewrite in dust and chalk. You set horn against the first oak and hang counsel at mouth height, where axes and cousins must admit they're related. Lairs torn, pits filled, hedge gates cut. brash burned, names chalked, miles kept. The forester who once counted deer by stories counts bad miles by pegs instead. He nails a slate to each black spot and pencils the week's keeping. Loop found, cut, ditch bridged, oak levered, bramble gate broken. He hums the convoy drill under his breath until the wood permits itself to be boring again. That is how law wins in green places. By training distance to prefer schedules, a fake hermitage pretends to bless wheels and really blesses pauses. You take Horn into its doorway and tack a card at mouth height so vows bruise before tricks recruit them. No sanctuary for bait, names chalked, rope loops for carts only, reasons recorded. The man in the skin cloak offers you a ribbon with a knot that looks like an oak's favorite necklace. You hand him a sleeve for his lamp instead. He frowns, then caps, then keeps. Safe passage begins to look like daylight. Inns test generosity with benches. You stand in a smoky yard and nail counsel where forearms must touch it between bread and bed. Yard lit, rate posted, stable barred, witness names chalked, pack lists sealed under horn, no strangers in hay, no credit for rumor. The keeper rehearses injury. The road teaches him coin returns faster when names write themselves. A fence cousin tries to sell a watchman's tip at the gate. The charter pinned on the post makes his voice sound antique. He pivots to selling oats and discovers he prefers profit without knives. Mid-yard, give me your 7 words for any in-beam that still thinks cheer excuses arithmetic. Yard lit, rate posted, names chalked, no strangers. Post them below. I'll pin the rules other yards will steal by evening. The bandits change texts, which is their only art. They stop hauling oaks across lanes and start filing studs off hired wheels so axles volunteer to fail. You carry Horn to the forge and tack no studs filed, names chalked, copies given where hammer hands must bruise pride into virtue. The smith blushes like a man who once invented poetry at the anvil and now enjoys receipts. He shows you a drawer of confession, 10 returned studs, 3 refunded fees, and pins your card higher because shame works faster when it's visible. The sheriff's bench learns to like audit. You chalk a wall with 3 columns, levy paid, convoys kept, bad miles mended, and make him read them in fair weather as if he were reciting bans. Wardens grin because their work looks like law instead of legend. Merchants grin because their hire looks like wages instead of tribute. The drummer in the copse discovers the power of a schedule to deafen him. Justice turns out to be furniture. Roads make men honest by depriving them of room to lie. You drill the convoy charter until boys repeat it in their sleep, muster at sunrise, interval kept, ladder sideways on shout, rope loops ready, witness names chalked, no favors after dark, and it works because it is short. On the second hill, the copse coughs a courtesy, the old woman with a too decent bundle, and everyone hums instead of halting. The pry pole kisses the oak's loop. The board turns into a bridge. The cart refuses to be adopted. An honest wheel stays on its axle. The old woman decides to become a laundress. Toll keepers like minting emergency charges at dusk. You make that hour poor in excuses. The rate board now has a lantern cap and a second nail. No charges twice has a shelf under it for the last gate slate. Witness names, cart count, and time. The keeper downriver reads your witness names per habit and mislikes how well you planned his evening. He collects what belongs and enjoys not having to quarrel. A muse on the forest edge fancies itself a monastery. It sells saint thread for rope loops and holy resin for axles. You buy sleeves and vinegar instead. You tack no sanctuary for bait where carts can bump it, and the prior's face, distant cousin to 6 hedges, learns to resemble a neighbor. He starts chalking names at his door. He blesses receipts, then appreciates them. The sheriff tests your doctrine with a levy march across the very mile that used to be a hedge's favorite dining room. Drums intend to grandstand, you hand them lids. Horn rings once at the gate. Men file a cart length apart. Ladders lie sideways on the first shout. Rope loops swing like grammar. Witness names are written to the mile slate. The bramble keeper blinks at his loop and finds it tied to a peg a boy drove with laughter. The march reaches the next toll house without drama. The pay table under Horn becomes a poem of numbers without adjectives. This is victory. Inn-yards keep telling the same lie, that warmth sells safety wholesale. You pin no strangers in hay where blankets will bruise it, pack lists sealed under horn where promises must be compared to paper, and rate posted where sleepy mouths will bump it. A fight that would have been knives becomes arithmetic. The keeper sleeps. He will not thank you. He will charge fairly. Hue and cry drills move from bench to meadow. Horn rings at hedge, ladder sideways, rope looped, board between hands, witness names chalked, miles slate pinned. When a real cart turns over in the ford, no cousin involved, the convoy does the same dance without a voice raised. The cart is righted, the wheel is pegged, the boy that squeaked honestly learns to squeak once, then hum. The sheriff smiles with the relief a man feels when his bench has become optional. Bandits try a new religion, night markets for travel blessings. You put horn on their plank and nail a card at eye level that makes every lantern cap click. No favors after dark. Names chalked, interest posted on loans. Two fellows with grins that used to collect coppers discover the weight of your vinegar. They sell oats instead. You have seen this conversion before. It never gets old. A caravan from far cities puts your charter to the test without meaning to. Their own discipline is proud. Your hedges are clever. They adopt your interval, copy your ladder trick, chalk witness names at your mile slate, pay the right toll because the board bruised their wrist. On the way out, they steal your cards in the way you hoped. They buy sleeves and rate boards and a beetle of their own. Good theft is the road's highest craft. Midgate, write your 7-word hedge rule, the one you trust to a boy alone with a pry pole and a chain. Ladder sideways, rope loop pry, no stops. Put it in the comments. I'll pin the lines. Other miles will nail before sunrise. You return to the pay table at week's end and add the wall every sheriff should love. Assurance ledger. Names of bad miles kept, ropes delivered, oaks levered, hedge gates cut, brash burned, pits filled. Beside it, you pin shops that saved us, smiths who refused to file studs, inns that posted rates, shrines that moved candles back. Bandits always kept score. Now a parish learns how to. Envy turns into imitation. The last lair dresses like a chapel and lives 1 field off the road. You set horn on its sill and read the text stuck under the paint. No sanctuary for bait. You add witness names chalked and reasons recorded because consensus belongs to roads more than cloisters. The hermit nods out of embarrassment and begins writing down who sleeps where. He blurts a confession about a cousin with a rope loop. You tell him to sell pegs. You are not above practical sainthood. Dusk draws a straight line from pay table to hedge to inn to miles slate to bridge to shrine. At each you thump wood with the beetle. Wood answers properly. A lark sings on purpose. A boy with the pry pole can recite your charter faster than a bailiff can summon swagger. An innkeeper can post rates without pretending they are poetry. A smith can hand back studs with receipts. A forester can name bracken like enemies and brash like friends. A toll keeper can love his wall more than his drawer. Knives still exist. They have been put on a diet. If you want this kit carried to the inn-yards at the market town 2 days hence, the sheriff's winter assize where liars attempt to recover losses with adjectives, and the Abbey Road where hungry men keep trying to baptize hedges, say, continue after subscribing and tapping the bell. In the comments, leave your 7-word convoy law that a boy can shout without swallowing. I'll bring horn, chalk, ribbon, tin, vinegar, beetle, cards, and the habit that keeps beating bandits where they live. Short, public sentences at mouth height that wrists repeat before knives remember their lines. The market town's inn-yard pretends that cheer is a security plan, so you set the horn lamp on the yard beam until a warm coin of light lands where benches, prices, and stories try to excuse each other. The keeper's smile rehearses generosity. The yard boy bangs a cudgel against the gate as if noise were a charter. 2 fences lean on the rails like friendly cousins with excellent memories. You hang counsel at mouth height where wrists must bruise themselves before coin imagines itself destiny. Yard lit, rate posted, stable barred, witness names chalked, pack list sealed under horn, no strangers in hay, no credit for rumor. The keeper reads it, frowns because short rules threaten the longest profit, And then, because winter taught him that predictable customers drink more and break less, pins a slate to the post and writes numbers that will still be true after sunset. Subscribe and tap our bell, the one that delivers drills to your wrists, not rumors to your purse. And in the comments, write the 7 words you would nail on any in-yard beam. Yard lit, rate posted, names chalked, no strangers. I'll pin the strong ones and carry them to the assize bench where adjectives try to invent refunds. You begin by turning welcome into schedule. At the gate, witness names chalked, cart mark, owner, hour. At the stable, stable barred. A bar you can lift without a witness cannot be called a bar. At the porch, rate posted. Pence for pallet, more for straw, extra for hot water, none for singing fee. The beetle's daughter taps the beam with the beetle. Wood hums. A fence cousin with a night smile tests the rule by inventing a stranger who only needs hay. The keeper points to no strangers in hay and discovers how sweet refusal tastes when it is furniture. Bandits starve in inn-yards that keep light. You cap the lantern, hang a sleeve for the boy who likes matches, salt the yard with pegs where convoy charters can rest while men drink by interval instead of by nostalgia. Pack list sealed under horn moves more coin than any song. A smith's man tries to swap one bale of carded wool for another of cunning gravel. Horn shines on his seal. The keeper calls witnesses. The swap evaporates into sighs. The yard boy learns to value boredom like armor. A convoy rolls in heavy with barley and experience. They tack their charter to the post, chalk witness names, pay for pallets at the rate on the slate, and not a single man feels superior for refusing an ambush because refusing an ambush at an inn now feels like burping after soup. Basic courtesy. A storyteller winds up to praise the time he slept with one eye open and meets a chorus of tin caps clicking on lamp mouths. Respect the lid. It keeps fields from being invented in straw. In the tap room, you watch a partnership try to form itself in honeyed ale. A merchant in velvet wants credit. An undersmith with ambition wants a shortcut. A fence cousin offers night assurance for a fee that smells like hedges. You bring horn to the bench and turn stories into receipts. No credit for rumor bumps the velvet cuff. 2 receipts bumps the undersmith's knuckles. Witness names chalked bumps the fence cousin's grin. The merchant pays cash and leaves a rate board at the next gate as Thanksgiving. The undersmith keeps both his studs and his job. The cousin practices selling oats. Mid-yard, give me your 7 words for any inn table where laughter keeps trying to buy amnesia. Rate posted, names chalked, no credit for rumor. Put them below. I'll pin the lines other yards will steal before rain. When the sheriff's assize rides in, the town pretends to become paper. The bench unfolds under a canopy as if the weather took an oath. Plaintiffs bloom. Adjectives collect in baskets. A drover complains his load was cut by fiends in the hedge and asks damages that include dignity. A tollkeeper complains his drawer was accidentally lightened by travelers. A smith insists travelers wear studs down with use and requests to be paid for fatigue. You set the horn coin on the rail until light coins hands, not throats, and you hang counsel at mouth height where wrists must confess, convoy charter posted, rate boards pinned, mile slates read, witness names chalked, returns audited, no charges twice, no blows. The sheriff glances at your card and grins like a man discovering his bench has become a desk. He orders the clerk to read the assurance wall from last market. Bad miles kept, oaks levered, hedge gates cut, brash burned, smiths who returned studs with receipts, inns that posted rates, toll houses that didn't invent dusk fees. He asks the drover for witness names. The drover produces 3 slates from 3 gates. The number of bales matches the number of witness lines. Damages downgrade from ruin to repair. He asks the tollkeeper for 2 receipts. The tollkeeper, now half a reformed drawer and half a proud wall, produces both. The drawer gets replaced by a rate board that refuses to close. He asks the smith whether studs were filed. The smith, now addicted to vinegar and horn, shows pegs and copies and goes away without a verdict because the room believes him first. You call the hue and cry drill aloud not as poetry, but as proof. Horn once at gate, twice at hedge, thrice only at bridge, ladder sideways on shout, rope loops ready, witness names chalked, mile slates pinned. The drummer in the copse tries a new rattle outside the town, but men under a roof hum grammar. The sheriff nods as if justice should always have been a schedule. A widow with a rent face brings a case you like too much. A fence cousin sold her a night pass for a coin and a prayer, and bandits waited exactly where his cousin told them to. You bring Horn to the desk and make no favors after dark stain the page. The sheriff reads witness names chalked off the post from the last gate. The cousin's hand appears on 3 slates like a stain. He pays the widow her barley back in coin. He offers to reform. The beadle's daughter sells him a sleeve and a card for his lamp. This is what repentance looks like in good weather. Tools, rates, and shame that outlives the story. Assize listens to the forest wardens the way winter listens to ropes. The forester reports lairs torn and pits filled and hedge gates cut. The sheriff writes their miles on a board where men with axes can see themselves in nouns, not legends. He sets payment by kept mile, not by sung mile. Road keeping learns to love receipts. An inn-yard keeper brings a complaint he would have swallowed last year. A stranger in hay. He posts no strangers where blankets will bruise it. He chalks names under the gate lamp. He kept the stable barred. The sheriff thanks him for liking his own rule. The town claps once in the measure of lids. This is how fairness looks when it has been practiced into muscle. You carry Horn to the Abbey Road because hungry men keep trying to baptize hedges. Pilgrims' wagons and sermons share the lane. Cousins of Bramble set up miracle shrines beside puddles. A hermit sells knots that look like loops. A prior offers watch prayers for donations that become beds for uncles with knives. You hang counsel at mouth height where robes must brush it. No sanctuary for bait. Candles moved back a cart length. Names chalked. Reasons recorded. Rope loops for carts only. The prior, smaller, because your cards made him practice humility, moves his candles without arguing and pins reasons recorded to his door. He begins listing the hours he kept the road with bowls and lamp sleeves. He discovers he likes being a ledger. You build 3 abbey posts on the road, a mile apart, with shelves for convoys to pin their charters while they stretch, and chalkboards for wardens to write bad mile named and kept. Bandits hate shrines that make ledgers. Pilgrims like shrines that refuse to sell fear. Monks discover they prefer receipts because receipts buy bread without bargaining with bones. Mid-lane, drop your 7-word Abbey Road rule, the one you'd trust to keep candles from inventing ambushes. Candles back, names chalked, no sanctuary for bait. I'll pin the best and carry them to the next prior who thinks vow means exemption. A hard test arrives at dusk. A convoy from 3 shires away, tired, anxious, with too many cousins in its stories and too few names on its slates. The hedge thinks. The drummer measures. The boy with the pry pole hums first. Ladder sideways, rope loop, peg, horn once. 2, not thrice, boys chalk witness names. Tollkeeper points to the rate board without performing. Innkeeper points to rate posted and no strangers. Sheriff reads the wall. Bandits retire and audition agriculture. The convoy, surprised to be bored, sleeps. The inn-yard tries a last old trick. Credit for rumor. He's good for it, says the keeper, pointing at a long story with boots. You set Horn on the bench and tap no credit for rumor until the wood replies. The boots pay for a pallet and a bowl. In the morning, he buys sleeves for his lamp because the click on tin made him feel safer than any saga about himself. The assize concludes with an inventory rather than a parade. Miles named and kept, 8. Oaks levered, 6. Hedge gates cut, 5. Brash burned, 9. Pits filled, 4. Studs returned with receipts, 3 shops. Inns posting rates, 6 now, 2 last quarter. Toll houses without dusk fees, 4. Convoy charters pinned, 12. Witness names chalked, countless and counted. The sheriff bangs tin on wood the way the beadle's daughter does. The town claps once, the lark behind the hedge, which has grown bored of watching men learn, sings anyway. You end where the road taught you to start, at the mile slate, where chalk, charter, and witness shake hands. You pin one last card the size of a palm, designed to travel faster than your voice. Muster at sunrise, interval kept, ladder sideways, rope loops ready, witness names chalked, rate boards pinned, no favors after dark. You print it again on the back with 5 small drills any boy can shout without choking. Board, loop, peg, cap, move. You give a stack to the convoy captain and another to a prior who finally enjoys receipts. You give the last to the innkeeper who agreed to like pegs. Then you chalk your own name on the slate and walk the hedge where the oak used to nap, enjoying the quiet grammar you forced it to learn. If you want this kit carried to the last hard places, the winter assize, where liars arrive with adjectives, the abbey road in rain when candles think too loudly, the fairground at harvest when credit masquerades as courage, say continue after you subscribe and tap the bell. And in the comments, leave your 7-word convoy law in a form a tired boy can shout at a hedge and have the hedge obey. I'll bring horn, chalk, ribbon, tin, vinegar, beetle, cards, and the habit that keeps beating thieves at their own work. Short, public sentences at mouth height that wrists repeat before knives remember their lines. Rain makes miles honest faster than judges do, so you set the horn lamp under the Abbey Road's ash and let a warm coin of light sit where mud tries to outvote memory. The reed bed takes the overflow with dignity. The mile slate leans under the dripping hedge like a school that refuses to cancel itself. The convoy charter pinned to the post has puckered but not blurred. You hang counsel at mouth height where wrists must bruise themselves before weather invents permission. Candles back a cart length, cart faces out, ladder sideways on shout, rope loops ready, witness names chalked, no favors after dark, no sanctuary for bait. The prior meets you with sleeves already rolled and a ledger that smells like soup, not incense. He points to his door, where you made him nail reasons recorded in spring. 2 nights kept, he says, 12 bowls fed, 3 candles moved, no cousins blessed. He grins the way men grin when they realize they enjoy being furniture. Subscribe and tap our bell, the one that delivers drills to your wrists, not indulgences to your purse. And in the comments, write the 7 words you would nail on any shrine that can see a road. Candles back, names chalked, no sanctuary for bait. I'll pin the ones that travel and carry them to the harvest fair, where credit tries to call itself courage. The sheriff's winter assize takes shelter in a barn that smells of grain and consequence. Plaintiffs arrive with their adjectives packed. You set horn on the pay table and hang counsel at mouth height where witness nudges rhetoric off its stool. Mile slates read, rate boards pinned, 2 receipts shown, studs returned with copies, bad miles kept named. A drover claims his convoy was bled dry in the Willow Bend. The clerk reads witness names chalked at the last gate and at the mile slate under the ash. They match. The Willow Bend shows kept in a hand that belongs to a forester who likes being paid for nouns rather than for legends. Damages become repairs. The smith who once filed studs for travel adjustment presents 3 pegs with receipts and leaves whole. The innkeeper who posted rates under horn gets thanked by the bench. He accepts the praise as if it weighed more than coin. It does. Bandits try to colonize rain with courtesy. A hedge cousin in a hood waves a lantern before a rain-swollen ford and offers to lead carts through for the sake of souls. You thump the post with the beetle, and the convoy hums the drill that has become their religion. Ladder sideways, board between hands, rope looped, pry, peg, move. Witness names chalked. Boys cap lamps so their light does not flatter puddles into poems. The lantern waver fades into the bramble's honest shape. He will sell oats tomorrow. He will make more and sleep longer. Forest wardens bring news of lairs that reinvent themselves between showers. You set horn on the first stump where brash was burned and hang a slip at mouth height, because trees read rules better when men pretend to. Lairs torn, pits filled, hedge gates cut. The wardens add a 4th line in charcoal, bad miles named, and you see the habit being born that will outlive this sheriff and you. Miles kept for pay and for pride. The reeve nails a slate to each black spot. He writes kept in a hand that is learning to enjoy its own neatness. Drums in the copse discover they are less interesting than numbers. The fair at harvest has the road's worst habits in one field. Credit arrives with a smile that thinks it is a song. You hang counsel where benches will bruise it before mugs excuse it, rate posted, names chalked, cup not shared, pack list sealed under horn, no credit for rumor. A fence cousin tries to finance a convoy with night assurance. The rate board embarrasses him into the oat trade in a quarter hour. A merchant in velvet attempts to float his fee with a barrel of adjectives. The beadle's daughter taps the beam, and he pays coin. An undersmith with hunger closes his shop early to drink generosity. The card bumps his wrist. He sits up and decides to earn the studs he refuses now to file. The fair smells less like knives, more like lids. Midfield, give me your 7 words for any fair bench where laughter thinks it can buy amnesia. Rate posted, names chalked, no credit for rumor. Drop them below. I'll pin the lines that will still be legible when rain licks them. The road schools open under hedges in weather. You gather boys who will be wardens and men who will be fathers and make them rehearse the alphabet that saves axles. Board, loop, peg, cap, move. They chant it against the oak loop while the pry pole teaches their shoulders what levers owe to wrists. You make them practice writing names on the mile slate with the stub of chalk a gate lent you. Games that bruise the right bones become grammar. Bandits loathe games. A wagoner from 3 counties away wheels in with a story he was ready to sculpt into a lawsuit. Hooded fiends, he begins. Rain black fiends. You set horn on the post and point to witness names chalked and no favors after dark. He writes his own name where it should have been written yesterday, and suddenly his face looks ashamed rather than wounded. The sheriff pronounces what you love hearing from benches: no refund for adjectives. The wagoner buys 2 sleeves and a chain before he leaves. In a month he will tell someone in a different parish how useful boredom can be. Inyards prove their religion by whether they love rate boards more than stories. You walk 3 yards with sleeves and cards in your basket and find 3 different faiths. The first has its slate up, its stable barred, its candles back. It earns a line on the sheriff's wall under inns that saved us. The second posts a rate only until dusk. You nail no favors after dark, where elbows must bruise it, and sell the keeper a cap for his yard lamp. The third insists cheer is cheaper than schedules. You pin no strangers in hay at mouth height and leave. That yard will learn either by embarrassment or by empty pallets. Your patience is paid in the other 2. At the forest edge, a hermit who used to sell knots and prayers invents a better trade: mile slate keeper. You give him chalk, a sleeve, and a card that reads names chalked, bad mile named, kept. He posts his hour at the door. Bandits discover they dislike men who can list mornings. Pilgrims discover they prefer shrines that pin receipts. The prior dines in peace because his road no longer pretends to be a jaw. The sheriff's levy finds itself paid under horn and becomes fussy in the right way. Men demand 2 receipts, not because they doubt the chest, but because they learned to love paperwork when it saved miles. Wage thieves in velvet pocket verbs like advance and exception. The horn coin lands on their fingers. Returns audited hangs where their wrists cannot avoid it. They apologize by schedule instead of by poem. Your beam hums like an instrument men respect because it does not ask to be admired. A caravan from farther than your maps reaches the ash in rain, carrying a discipline you enjoy, and adopts yours as if it were a song. Their interpreter reads your card aloud to the last mule. Their captain pins their own charter next to yours and smiles when both slates agree. He buys sleeves and rate boards because good theft is how roads improve. He leaves you a gift you did not know you wanted, a smaller card with your alphabet printed on it in his hand. Board, loop, peg, cap, move in 3 tongues. It fits in a saddlebag. The worst ambush arrives disguised as mercy. A Reeves cousin offers to escort a late convoy past the willow with a lantern and a verse. You keep men from bargaining with lanterns by drilling the drill again with irritation in your voice. Horn once, ladder sideways, rope loop, board, move. Witness names chalked. You post no favors after dark on the lantern itself, bruising anyone who reaches for the handle. The cousin sighs and turns farmer, mid-gate. Add your own 7 words to the levy wall. What you would make a sheriff read before paying anyone. Mile slates read, returns audited, no charges twice. I'll pin the lines other benches should copy before winter returns. You finish the circuit with the only ritual that mattered all season: inventory at mouth height. Tolls posted under horn? Yes. Witness names chalked at gate and mile? Yes. Convoy charter pinned? Yes. Interval kept? Yes. Ladder sideways rehearsed? Yes. Rope loops ready? Yes. Rate posted at inn? Yes. Candles back at shrine? Yes. Pits filled and lairs torn? Written. Studs returned with receipts? Listed. 2 receipts at pay table? Counted. Your long month condenses into 12 short sentences on 12 pieces of wood that will keep speaking when you have ridden on. Rain lifts. Roads steam in the slanted light like praise you did not plan to write. Men who used to tell sagas about knives tell each other times instead. Sunrise, mile slate, ford, rate board, pallet. The lark in the hedge returns to the business that was always more important than your drama. A boy taps the beam with the beetle and waits for the hum. It arrives. He smiles because schedules make a sound he likes. You give the last of your cards to the prior for shrines, to the innkeeper for beams, to the sheriff for the levee wall, to the smith for his door, to the tollkeeper for his post, and to a caravan captain for his tailboard. You keep one for the wayside cross where your mile began. Muster at sunrise, ladder sideways, rope loops ready, witness names chalked, rate boards pinned, no favors after dark. You thump the post one last time. Wood answers because you worked it into a neighbor. If you want the last stretch, harvests, long nights, the king's progress on a road that prefers ledgers to trumpets, and the quiet winter where you teach boys to hum grammar before knives remember their lines, say continue after subscribing and tapping the bell. In the comments, leave your 7-word convoy drill in the voice a tired lad can shout without choking. I'll bring horn, chalk, ribbon, tin, vinegar, beetle, cards, and the habit that outlived bandits. Public sentences at mouth height, repeated until wrists obey them in rain. Harvest pulls the road longer than any map ever dared. So you set the horn lamp on the granary's crossbeam until a warm coin of light lands where sacks and stories try to negotiate. The threshing floor breathes out chaff like fog in a chapel. Carts lean in a crescent the way men do when they want to be brave and fed. A Reeves chalkboard stands against the gate like a prayer with numbers. You hang counsel at mouth height where wrists must bruise themselves before midnight convinces them it is clever. Muster at dusk, interval a cart length, ladder sideways on shout, rope loops ready, rate boards pinned, witness names chalked, no favors after dark. The sheriff laughs, the good laugh, the one that feels like a man discovering he likes furniture, and orders the clerk to read each line as if he were reciting bands over grain. Subscribe and tap our bell, the one that delivers drills to your wrists, not gossip to your purse. And in the comments, shout the 7 words you'd trust to carry oats through a hedge that dreams. Muster at dusk, interval kept, ladder sideways. I'll pin the best and stuff them into the next convoy captain's pocket before his courage hires poetry. You begin with the moon because thieves do. A grain wagon that moves wrong under pale light is a sermon bandits love to preach. You turn every wagon into an instrument, boards strapped where ladders can learn to lie, rope loops tied where hands can find them in rain, pry poles balanced like oars across 2 boys' shoulders so speed never needs surprise. The reeve pegs the pack lists under horn. The rate board at the yard gate gets a second nail. The toll slate halfway to town gets a 3rd column for harvest convoys. Bandits hate columns. They prefer solos. The king's progress rides onto your road like theater that believes calendars are its servants. Trumpets announce tents. Grooms train grass into maps. Pursuivants arrive with parchment that wants to make tax into applause. You set horn on the mile slate and hang counsel where wrists will bruise velvet into respect. Tolls posted, no charges twice, witness names chalked, convoy charter honored, no royal exemptions after dark. The pursuivant begins to say, by grace. You point to the board. He reads the rate aloud because daylight already did. The sheriff grins because he has learned the grammar of not being impressed. The royal captain sees the ladders lying sideways and decides he prefers to admire obedience from men who will outlive him. The progress carries a king's peace proclamation that sounds like a trumpet and behaves like a ditch. You read it under horn and add the 1 word that makes it honest. Witness. Piece hired by schedule keeps knives thinner than piece hired by legend. The court scribes copy your mile slate drill onto a ribbon and call it their contribution. Let them. Ink that embarrasses rumor is a civic sacrament. Harvest's second shift is with rats and cousins. You put sleeves on the lamps in barns the way you taught inns to. You tack slops to trench beside every pump so the cool bucket stops flirting with chaff. You hang pack lists sealed under horn on threshing beams because too many lost in dust bales became somebody else's winter. The road learns to sleep with one eye open without becoming a theater. The boys who loved marching now love writing names at the mile slate. The beadle's daughter taps the beam, and the forester tells you which bad mile got kept today with pride, not apology. An old bandit in a plain hood arrives at the post with a pry pole and a question that has been trying to get born since spring. He wants a mile to keep. He wants a slate to clean. He wants a rule to bruise. You hand him chalk, a sleeve, and the card with the alphabet any man can shout without swallowing: board, loop, peg, cap, move. He nails it to the oak he used to nap, ties the rope loop where his cousin tied bait, and writes his own name on the slate first, crooked. The sheriff pays him the same as any warden, and posts it under horn. Nothing heals a road quicker than a thief who likes schedules. Ditches practice temptation by becoming mirrors. A new pool forms in a low bend. Cartwheels admire themselves. Pauses begin to sketch ambush. You train the habit into the ground as if it were a mule. No stops where hedges think pinned at ankle height. Board laid over mud. Rope looped to the oak's honest shoulder. Peg kissed by chain. Convoy moving while tin caps click in the rhythm winter-taught lamps. The puddle loses its personality. Bandits go looking for a hedge with better acting. The winter assize opens its ledger for autumn while rain flirts with chaff. The bench has learned to like your grammar. It reads bad miles kept like a psalter, thanking each forester by name. It posts shops that saved us, smiths who refused to file studs, inns that posted rates, shrines that moved candles back a cart length. It posts no refunds for adjectives in a hand the clerk learned beside your board. The sheriff bangs tin on wood to punctuate plain talk and is forgiven for enjoying himself. Justice that feels like housekeeping is the road's favorite poem. Traveling carts that were strangers become parishes that obey. A caravan from farther than anyone will believe arrives with its own charter pinned and admires the comfort of seeing your own sentences under a different man's hand. Their interpreter reads no favors after dark in two tongues and claps his sleeve to the lamp without theatrics. He leaves you a card that steals your alphabet and prints it smaller. You steal it back on purpose. Good theft is how continents talk. The last hedge cousin tries to sell hush money to a convoy that has learned to laugh mid-verse. He waves a scale, calls it assurance, and asks for the price of a wheel to pass. The mile slate bears 3 sets of witness names from the last 3 gates, and the rate board lists no such line. You hang no charges twice at his elbow and point to witness names chalked at eye height. He swallows, sells oats, and forgets to be offended. Schedules do not gloat. They work. Rain swells the Abbey Road to a problem you'll miss when it's gone. Candles want to creep toward puddles. Boys want to test heroism on wet stone. Carts want to admire their own reflections in a ford. You hang candles back in bigger letters than last time. You assign 2 monks to drift along the line with sleeves and pegs. You make the prior write reasons recorded for every candle he convinced to retreat. Records cure vanity better than scolding. The reed bed receives its due. The mile slate remains legible because the boys enjoy writing their own names more than they enjoy imagining themselves rescuers. The inn-yard that learned rate boards has one last confession. Strangers in hay sneak back after every good fare. You nail no strangers in letters that bruise blankets, and the keeper posts names chalked under the lamp. A fight that would have been knives devolves into arithmetic. Bad sleepers pay for pallets or leave. The keeper discovers profit without drama is a manageable religion. That is all you ever asked him to like. Mid-barn, give me the 7 words you would force any assize bench to read before it listens to anyone's adjectives. Mile slates 2 receipts, no charges twice. Drop them below. I'll pin the lines that save more bales than sermons. You carry horn to a low bridge where bandits tried songs last year. Now the convoy charter is nailed to the post, and the boys hum the chorus without thinking. Ladder sideways, board between hands, rope loops ready. Witness names chalked, no favors after dark. The bridge becomes grammar instead of a stage. A traveler from the King's Progress watches and decides he prefers this order to any trumpet he owns. He will write someone a letter about your remarkable peasants. He will get the credit. Let him. Credit written to the wrong address still buys grain. At harvest's end, you hold an audit that sounds like rain on planks. Miles kept, 14. Oaks levered, 9. Hedge gates cut to 7. Brash burned, 12. Pits filled, 5. Studs returned with receipts, 4 smiths now, 1 last quarter. Inns with rate boards, 9. Toll houses without dusk fees, 6. Convoy charters pinned, enough the mile slates grew bored listing them. Witness names chalked, uncountable, which is the correct number. The sheriff posts the ledger under horn. Mothers who thought their sons were only noise clap a little, boys who thought they needed ballads to feel alive, grin because wood hummed back. Winter rehearses in the hedges with a cautious hand. You shorten your charter to a card that fits in anyone's mitten. Muster at sunrise, interval kept, ladder sideways, rope loops ready, witness names chalked, rate boards pinned, no favors after dark, and give stacks to anyone with wrists. You show the abbey how to write no sanctuary for bait in a way pilgrims can love. You show the smith how to pin no studs filed to his door so pride pays him a visit each dawn. You teach the tollkeeper's boy to enjoy writing names at the post. You reward courage with boredom. Bandits hate boredom because it is heavier than iron and cannot be pawned. A last cart comes into the ashen rain, a wheel cracked, a girl with a cup, a man with a letter, a story that would have been a lawsuit last spring. You set horn on the post, cap the lamp, lay the board, loop the rope, kiss the peg, chalk names, give 2 receipts, read the rate board aloud, and hum the drill. The cart moves. The story misses its chance to become famous. The girl's cup finds the peg with her name. The man tears his letter into a list of chores. The road hums after you, the way wood hums when hit properly. That is the future, not a prophecy. The kit that beat knives fits at the end into a basket that would make any housewife proud. Horn pane wrapped in wool, a handful of cards drilled for tacks, chalk, ribbon, tin sleeves, a vinegar jar, the beetle, a rate board template, a mini convoy card for boys to shout without choking. You lay each tool on the camera table and name the drill it runs. Board, loop, peg, cap, move, read, post, witness, copy, delay, peg, rate light, refuse, pay. Nothing here is heroism. Everything here is survival rehearsed until roads forget to be dramatic. You hang one last card on the wayside cross where it will greet carts you will never see. Ring once at gate, interval kept, ladder sideways, rope loops ready, witness names chalked, rate boards pinned, no favors after dark. You thump the beam with the beetle. Wood answers. The lark in the hedge ignores you, which is respect finally earned. This is where I ask you to help me carry these drills into our next stubborn century. Subscribe and tap the bell so the next 7-part build lands while your beam still remembers its height. In the comments, leave 2 gifts. Your own 7-word milepost law, short enough for a tired lad to shout and a hedge to obey, and the next theme title you want me to hammer into drills under horn. Try one of these, or write the one only your street knows it needs. How parish bells outran gossip, why city walls ate generals, what market stalls taught ministers. We'll shoulder horn, chalk, ribbon, tin, vinegar, beetle, cards, and go again because bandits and winters and pageants outlive heroes, but they do not outlive public sentences at mouth height, repeated until wrists obey them in rain.